Welcome once again to another exciting episode of the Traveling Troubadour, the podcast that follows the lives of musicians who've successfully toured the world, playing the music everyone knows and loves. I'm your host, Jason Perno, and our next guest is Seanin.
Yeah, how are you doing, Jason?
How are you?
Very good.
I've known you for a number of years. Actually, we met back in Switzerland many years ago, playing in the same bar. You're
Crazy
from
place.
Yeah, you're from England. Well, half Irish, half English. Yes.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I was born in Lancashire, Northern England, but my mum's Irish, and I spent a lot of my life in Ireland, and played a lot of music in Ireland.
Great. So, what was it like playing in Ireland?
Fantastic. Ireland for me is the best country in the world for music.
Really?
Yeah, definitely.
Can you work 6 days a week in Ireland?
You can, but there's stiff competition there now. Well, not with the COVID, obviously, but before COVID, stiff competition. You know, a lot of very good musicians. So, but when I used to play there, it wasn't. It was easier. There was less musicians, I guess, But now there's just more and better and just more. It's more of a competitive thing, but still just to have fun there. And anyone can go busking in Ireland. You know, anyone can go busking on the street and have fun. How
did you get from starting? So you started out in Ireland, right? Is that where you first started your musical journey? Or?
Well, actually, no. I started in England. Well, I was in England and Ireland, going backwards and forwards. I used to work on the ships, on the boats that go across from Liverpool to Liverpool and Holyhead to Ireland, and so I played a lot in Ireland and in England. But yeah, I guess the first time playing live on stage was in Ireland.
All right. So now, how did you get onto the cruise ships?
My mum's family all worked on the ships.
Nepotism.
So, yeah.
where?
Yeah. So, as soon as I left school, I was sent to work on the ships.
Were they musicians too?
Yeah. There was musicians on the ships. Yeah.
But your family?
There was. There was. No, not really. My dad was. My dad played guitar. In fact, that's my first guitar, and it used to belong to my dad.
Oh, nice.
But now he's had a hard life, and he's retired.
So it was sort of like your family had been working on the boats, and they said, "Hey, you know, there's musicians. Why don't you come up work on the ship?"
Well, I was just sent to work on the ship as soon as I left school, really. You know,
oh, okay.
By my mum. She was like, "Come on,
get your ass in gear.
We need to get some money in."
Okay.
Follow the family tradition, yeah. But then, you know, after working on the ships, I was traveling around, busking a lot in Ireland and in London, and met a bunch of other guys, Irish and English, and we all just started busking every day in Dublin on Grafton Street, and then we have formed a band and just went from there.
Were you able to make good money busking?
Yeah, we did.
Really?
Yeah,
I've met a couple of buskers. Yeah. One of them, you should know, Neil Brophy.
Yeah, Neil. Yeah, he's great.
The other one is Spence Cater, and he also played and busked in London. I think Birmingham, actually. He was busking.
Birmingham, yeah.
So you started out in the UK, and then you ended up traveling outside. How did that happen?
Well, in Ireland, we put a band together, and it did well. The band did well, so we got gigs off of that and ended up touring around, first around Europe, like Amsterdam, around Holland, and then Germany, and then Switzerland. And then we ended up getting a tour of America, and then we went to Australia.
How did you find these gigs? Were these through an agency or?
Well, we got signed as a band in Ireland.
What kind of music?
It's kind of like, They called it Raggle Taggle at the time. It's kind of folky, gypsy, pop, rock kind of thing. Bit of an Irish, kind of Irish influence with fiddles and mandolins, and so yeah, we had a hit in Ireland
Really?
in the 90s.
What was it called?
It was called Home Again. The band was called the Big Geraniums. The hit was called Home Again. And from that, we got offered all kinds of things, we first went touring around Europe, and then we were sponsored by Guinness to go and play in Australia. And then an American label took us over to America. It was good times. We had good times.
How old were you back then?
20s, early 20s. We were all young and fresh.
And this was all
not like now.
Fresh meat.
Young and fresh, yeah.
So this was all original music.
It was all original music, but very influenced by, because we used to play a lot in sessions in Ireland, playing Irish music, So there's a lot of Irish influence in there.
So, yeah, I wanted to get a little bit into your influences, because every time that I interview somebody, we all have these various backgrounds, and some of the guys are into heavy metal, some of the guys are into, rock and roll, and other people into country music.
Yeah.
But I want to get into the Irish thing a little bit with you and find out. So who were your main influences when you were growing up?
Well, a lot of folk music, because both my mum, being Irish, and my dad, they both loved folk music and Irish music, particularly. So a lot of Planxty, Chieftains, Christy Moore, the Dubliners, all that. We used to go, even in England, there was a big Irish club scene, folk club scene. So as kids, we were brought along to that every weekend. So we would have that music all the time. But then I used to I was mostly listening to what my parents listened to, and like Cat Stevens. But actually, someone I loved when I was young was Jimi Hendrix.
Well, that's different compared to the other stuff.
He's just a magical musician, So and a lot of that old music from the 70s and Pink Floyd and Led Zepp and all that. So I guess, I was I liked older music.
Right, the classic rock and then the folk music.
Yeah, classic stuff or folk music, yeah.
So you were saying that Ireland is the best place on earth for live music. Why is that? I mean, I was thinking about this because when I wrote my book about traveling around the world playing music, one thing that kind of finally snapped in my head, and I don't know why it took me this long to figure it out, but all the gigs tend to be in Irish pubs. And
it's a strong tradition that goes back a long way, As I said, when I was a kid, we were going to Irish pubs, because you could bring the kids,
Right.
And the kids would just run around or whatever, and the parents would get drunk. But since I was a little kid, I've been listening to live music in pubs, and so it's a big tradition in Ireland. So every town has live music. Every town in Ireland has live music pubs, and so I guess they just exported it because it's a good business, As you know yourself, Irish pubs, they're recession proof, You'll always, an Irish pub will always be busy,
And they're catering mainly to expats around the world. You'll see, no matter where you go, there's always an Irish pub for expats.
There's that. But I think a lot of people from other countries and other backgrounds love the atmosphere of an Irish pub as well, I think, in Scandinavia or whatever, you'll have a big, Scandinavian crowd in there, and they enjoy it, don't they?
Yes, absolutely.
Or like Greece, I used to play in an Irish pub in Greece, and it was packed. It was always packed, mostly with Greeks. But there would be tourists as well, but there would be a lot of Greeks in there. They just,
I think I played in that same bar, actually.
The one at Monastiraki in
is it the James Joyce?
That's the one, yeah.
That's right. It's right next to that school that Socrates started, right?
Yeah. Great spot. That was a good job. I like that one.
And they had another one, Molly Malone's, I think it was called.
That was further out.
Yeah,
that's it, Glyphada. Yeah.
It's cool you played that gig too. So, I mean, did you get these gigs through the same connections that I had? I mean, for me...
Possibly. I can't remember how I got the Greek one. I thought, it was from Ken, an Irish friend of mine in Berlin. See, I do play a lot in. I've been playing a lot in Berlin in Irish pubs. And,
see, this is funny because that's completely different connection than the one that I got. My referral. Yeah. I think originally I got that gig through a Greek friend, Yanis. I don't know if you know Yanis.
Yanis, I know Yanis. Yeah. I met him in Samoritz, actually, in Switzerland.
Yes.
The Stubli, yeah.
How'd you end up in Switzerland doing that gig?
Again, that's another connection that it was a friend of mine. It was actually, I was doing a gig in a place called Cafe Zapata, which it doesn't exist anymore, but this was in Berlin about 10 years ago. Cafe Zapata, and it was a live thing, and there was lots of musicians, and so we were all hanging out afterwards, and I met this girl, Beth, and we started talking. She was saying, I play in this place in Switzerland, you should give it a go. And I was like,
Beth Wimmer.
Sure. Exactly, yeah.
The
Beth
American.
Wimmer, yeah.
Wow.
So it's through her that I got into the Stubli. Yeah. And I remember the first time I turned up at the Stubli, I was like, this is insane.
So wait a minute. And you met Beth in Berlin?
In Berlin, yeah. I'm not sure. I think she'd just come up for a weekend or something. I'm not sure. But we were both... It was a singer-songwriter night at Cafe Zapata in Berlin. So there was a few of us. There was Beth, there was Eric Penny, there was me, a few other guys. Yeah.
This is what I love so much about doing this work. Because, I had always wondered how you ended up on some of the same gigs that I did, and it seems like we have some of the same connections, but not really. Yet the circuit is the circuit is a well-traveled circuit that we all hear about eventually, and there's a place
it's all
here
interconnected in one way or another. Yeah. It's like Neil, for instance, Neil Brophy. I mean, I met him in Goa in India.
Yeah, he said that
a year ago, or 2 years ago, was it? And so, that's another connection that I didn't know you knew him. And, and then, but yeah.
I'm so surprised you never ended up in Scandinavia, because that's like...
I did. I went up there once I did a few weeks up there. But I was so busy. I was busy in Berlin. I had a lot of gigs, steady gigs in Berlin for the last few years. So, and I was living there, and it's just easy just to play in Berlin, stay in Berlin,
The gigs.
But I would like to go back to Scandinavia. Actually, I would like to go back and play there sometime. Yeah.
Well, there's a huge Irish pub circuit in Scandinavia. And there's work for all the musicians. It pays well, so. You should certainly hook up with Neil.
I should get onto that.
I think this is like become a great home base for so many of us here.
Really? Yeah.
I mean, there's even a lot. Well, it's different now because I think of the Brexit, but a lot of...
I have an Irish passport, so
okay.
I'm fine.
Cool. Yeah, so a lot of those UK guys got screwed over by Brexit.
Yeah, because of my... I've been using an Irish passport for the last 25 years anyway, so
nice.
It didn't really
affect you.
Didn't really affect me, So I'm lucky, really. I guess I've got an Irish mammy.
So Berlin, is that a live music scene for original music more, or is it? Because I know I don't know if you know this Australian girl, Prita. She's from Perth.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
she
I
did
don't know
Berlin
well,
a lot.
Yeah.
And she also does San Moritz as well. I got her the gig over there.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know her well, but I've seen her around, or seen her posters around or something.
Well, yeah, you should connect with her because she lived in Berlin for a while as well, and she was doing a whole original thing over there. Are you doing? Mainly original or covers?
To make money, I'm doing covers. You know, to make a living, I'm doing covers.
Right.
I do my own stuff as well, but you know, I'm not really famous enough to make good money doing that at the moment. But except in Ireland with my band, with my old band, we can fill a couple of venues, you know. But we only do that kind of once a year, and we didn't do it last year because of the COVID. So to make a general living, I'm playing in Irish bars, which means mostly playing Irish music and songs that people know, you know.
Right. Well, you know, and I know I'm probably one of the imposters when it comes to the Irish pub, because, you know, a lot of people, especially in Scandinavia, they come into the Irish pub and they see me and they're like, why aren't you playing Irish music? I'm like, I play like 3 or 4 Irish songs, but they are expecting like a full night of Irish, and they're like up and they're ready to dance. They don't know what the hell they're doing, but they're ready to do an Irish jig, and they want to hear Irish music, but I'm always disappointing them. I'm sure you know like 100.
No, I'm sure you know. I'm sure you get them going anyway.
I always have to find another way to do it. It's usually
Sweet Caroline, and they're all dancing on the table.
Johnny Cash and Sweet Home Alabama.
Yeah.
So now you've played a lot in Europe. That's very clear. You've done Germany, Switzerland. You've done some cruise ships and a lot in the UK and Ireland. Where else have you been outside of Europe? We're going to get to India in a bit.
Yeah. Well, just Australia. We did a tour of Australia, which was fantastic. We were sponsored by Guinness, so we got a lot of free Guinness. And we had crates of free Guinness in the back of the van. And I remember, you know, Australia's pretty warm, you know. So I remember we'd have like long journeys in between gigs, like an 8-hour, 10-hour drive. We were like, it's so thirsty. And you open up the Guinness from the back of the thing and it's hot, you know. It's like hot Guinness.
That probably doesn't taste that great.
It doesn't. Well, when you're thirsty, you'll drink hot Guinness.
I guess so. Where in Australia were you playing?
Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide, just that and Brisbane, that kind of east side. Yeah.
I don't know if you know, there was a guy named Michael Thomas that also used to play. He's played in San Moritz. He's played all over Scandinavia, and he's Australian. And he became an agent briefly. And he invited me over there, and I was playing in Brisbane and Sydney. I played in this place called the Mean Fiddler, which is this huge complex. They had one Irish pub, and it really wasn't.
Was this in Sydney? Was that in Sydney?
That's right.
I think we played that place as well. I think I remember.
Small
was
world.
There's it's a stage above or something. There's some.
It's like a huge sports complex that has like 5,000 people.
Yeah.
And then there's just bar after bar after bar. And then you would see there would be a band in one place, a DJ in another place. And then they'd have like the Irish pub where you would just have the musician doing the solo troubadour stuff.
Yeah, I think we played that venue too, yeah.
Cool. I also did a train station in Brisbane, the Grand Central, I think it was called, and then you went to India. When was that? When did you first go there?
Well, I've been going to India for years, but I mean, first time I went was in the 90s sometime.
In the 90s?
And, yeah.
Wow.
And it was quite different then.
How so?
But it was great. But I was very young, and I went with a friend, and we were both very young. And but then after that, I didn't go for many years, and then started going again a few, like 5 or 6 years ago. And there's this great town in Goa called Arambol, and it's like it's like a hippie town. It's like a festival town, you know. It's like Woodstock or something there, you know. But it's a great spot for live music, and so I've been going there every winter for the last 6 years until this winter just passed. I didn't go because of the whole COVID situation.
Yeah. Out of all the types of gigs that you do, sometimes you play with your band, sometimes you play solo. What do you prefer?
I think I enjoy playing with a band more than anything. Especially if I'm playing my own music and have a band around me, that's for me, that's the best feeling, you know. There's a bigger buzz when you've got a few guys around you and you're all gelling, you're all kind of vibing off each other, and then you've got the audience. Plus, when you're in a band, it's easier to create the buzz. When you're on your own, I can do that as well, but it's your responsibility, you know. When you're a solo musician, it's your responsibility alone to get everybody dancing, singing, and all this, you know. When you're in a band, you can kind of relax a bit, drink a beer, and kind of share the load with the other guys, you know. I guess I enjoy the band thing more than the solo thing. I enjoy the solo thing as well, but if I was to choose, I like being in a band.
Yeah, you know, I love being in a band too, but when it comes to the practical part of things, it's so much easier
the financial
to play.
part.
Yeah, that too. You make more money by yourself.
Yeah.
The other thing is that you tend to, I guess, like as you said, the burden falls on your shoulders. So if you have a bad night, it's all on you. But on the other hand,
that's the thing. You can't have a bad night when you're solo. That's the thing.
Right. But if you do well, all the glory goes on your shoulders as well. It's like, wow, this guy was
true.
great. Yeah.
You get all the glory, all the money, all the girls.
Yeah, that's right.
All the alcohol.
Did you ever notice, by the way, that when you had the room in the palm of your hand and you had a really good night, that was the night that all the women suddenly were interested in you? It wasn't like
definitely.
There's something about the energy that you create and people loving you that makes you more attractive.
It's all about the energy. Yeah. When you create that energy, you just become like a magnet or something. I don't know. And sometimes you can't. A lot of the time it's not something you can really control. You know, It's like. Sometimes it's just happening, you know, and then everyone's attracted to you, you know, and
yeah, I mean, sometimes it has nothing to do with you at all. It can be external things. It could be a football match. Yeah. It could be
it's about you have to stir the pot a little. You stir the pot and get the energy, you know, moving in the room. You got to get the energy in the room moving, and then it moves, and then everyone gets caught up in it, and then
I think that right now it's probably a little bit easier to get the party going because everybody is just dying to get out after being on lockdown for so long.
Yeah, I'm wondering how it's going to be, you know, the next gig. I'm hoping, you know, we'll be able to start doing gigs again soon, you know.
Well, I was just at one last Friday. I wasn't there to play, but I was watching a friend of mine play, and he was doing really well. I mean, people were just going nuts, and I just think that they're just ready. I remember one woman going, "Come on, we've been on lockdown for over a year," you know, and people haven't like. I feel so bad for single people, right? Because like if you're at least if you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend or whatever, or you're married like I am, you have somebody with you. But I mean, there's people that literally haven't had sex in like over a year. Because
well, that's a lot of energy to tap into, isn't it? Yeah, it could be really good for musicians actually after this lockdown. It could be really good.
I was thinking that, when I was watching some of my friends play out, I said, "Oh, this is going to be crazy for them."
Yeah.
So I wanted to switch gears a little bit and ask you, out of all the places that you've played, is there any specific place that stands out that's your favorite? I know you mentioned Ireland before, but...
Yeah. Well, I'd say... Yeah, there's a couple of venues in Ireland I love playing. That's Whelan's in Dublin and the Roisin Dove in Galway. But these are gigs I do with my band. But I guess other than that, I love the place in India where, to be honest, we don't make a lot of money, but it's a great fun,
and
it's a great place to express yourself and have a good time.
That's exactly what Neil said. He said
Arundel
it was his favorite
in
place.
Goa. Yeah. It's probably the best feeling, the best vibe. Other than that, I love playing in the Stubli in Switzerland, and that's gets very, very lively, crazy place. The pubs are playing in Berlin. They're a little more relaxed, you can, and that's a different way of enjoying it because you can sing in these Irish pubs called Murphy's. You can sing some of the really old ballad songs and stuff like that, and people will enjoy that because they're actually sitting down and eating some, it's a place that serves food as well, so they could be sitting down eating, so you can get really into a ballad, or something like this. It's not necessary that you have to get everybody up dancing, so that's enjoyable in that way also.
After all the places that you've been, is there anything that I guess some wisdom that you can pass on to other people who are getting into music and they want to go out and travel? Is there anything that you've learned that you think you'd like to share?
I'd say it's good if you're not so reliant on the money, so that you can, enjoy the process, enjoy everything happening. And I think especially with busking, I remember there was a point where I just stopped busking because I was too concerned about, I was too concerned. I needed the money, and I was like, oh. And when you need it, then you put off this vibe that you're not as relaxed, Yeah, and people are more...
a little bit desperate.
People are more attracted to you when you're relaxed and you're having a good time. When you're thinking about the, oh God, I need to make this amount to pay the rent or whatever, it puts a little stress and it comes through, So it's good. Say if you wanted to go off busking around Europe, try and save a little money before you go, so that you're not so reliant on what comes into the hat. It's better when you're not worrying, and often when you're not worried about the money, it's more likely the money comes in.
Yeah, that's a really good piece of advice, and so far nobody has brought that up except for you, but I totally agree with that. When I first started playing, my main motivation was because I love music. It's my whole life. So when I was up on stage, I needed to sing. Like I had something that I needed to say. But then after 10 years of doing cover songs, there would be moments where people would even tell me, they're like, it doesn't look like you're enjoying this. I said, because
yeah, you can get into that. You can get stuck in that hole sometimes, when it becomes a job. But it is a job, and you want it to be a job. But sometimes it can become too much of a job, and you lose the magic a bit,
Yeah, and it's a trade-off, because I know that when I first started out, I would play ballads, I would play love songs, I would play things that really, my heart wanted to express, and I would have like a small group of faithful devotees that would just sit there and wink their eyes at me, and I felt like what I was doing back then was more meaningful, and then suddenly it became very quickly apparent that I was a beer salesman, and I was in there to make the bar money, and I had to change up my act. It was within the first year or so that I learned, like, I got to really keep this going upbeat, and
it's a symbiotic relationship, The bar needs you to make people drink, and to make people kind of like put them in a party mood so that they drink more and spend more money. And the more money they spend at the bar, the more likely the bar's going to give you another night playing.
Right.
And it's symbiotic. If you're creating the energy in the room for people to be relaxed and happy, and then they're going to spend more money.
Yeah.
Then the bar's going to be happy, and then they're going to want you to play tomorrow night and the night after. And they really like when you're connecting with the audience and you're entertaining them and you're bringing people together and they're all having a good time. And some people really, they don't have that personality in the beginning. They have to develop it. You need that personality. You need it. It's essential, I think, especially in like an Irish bar or any kind of bar that's making a living selling alcohol. You need to be able to connect with the audience. So you just hiding in the corner, playing Stairway to Heaven on your own is not gonna do it.
No, that's exactly it. And that can be the biggest challenge for some people is making
it's
that
a difficult thing to learn. Yeah. And it is something that you learn on the job as well, I think, because I was pretty shy when I first started.
Yeah, me too.
But you kind of, you have a few drinks and loosen up a bit, and then you find yourself kind of having fun with the audience. And once you get into that vibe of having fun with the audience, that's when the magic happens. That's when you get the magnetism in the room,
And then you learn to play for a different reason.
Yeah. You play for them, not for you.
Exactly.
Also is the thing. A lot of musicians feel like, they want to just play for themselves, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But you do that at home, or...
It's so funny how we all come to the same conclusion.
Yeah. If you want to make something happen in a venue, then you need to connect with the audience, because they're not there for nothing, Yeah. And they're not there just to quietly listen to you, So it's essential to connect with the audience. And it's not an easy thing to do. Well, it's easier for some people than it is for others. It depends on your personality, but it is something that even if it's not natural to you in the beginning, you can learn how to do it. And one way is to just relax and start having fun,
And drink.
I know. At the beginning, when you're starting off, I think, the alcohol is actually beneficial, because it loosens you up and makes you a bit more relaxed.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to get hammered every night, but at least have one or two shots.
Just to loosen up and get on the same kind of level as the audience,
Yeah, because they're there to drink, so
Yeah.
If you're not drinking with them, or at least have a mild buzz, you can't relate to what they're going through.
Yeah. You need at least a mild buzz, yeah. Or if you can pretend, if you don't drink, then just kind of act like, yeah.
Well, the problem is that, like, I think there's certain patrons that would happily spend like $20 on a shot or a couple of shots and then give you those instead of tip you. And I was always thinking to myself, like, why do you think that I want this alcohol more than I want money? Because
it's very difficult to not be an alcoholic in this job, because you're having free drink given to you, thrown at you,
Yeah. I would have to tell the bartenders to like fake the alcohol, just put something else in there, but not alcohol. or sometimes I would just like they give me a shot and I'd be like, whew.
I just took it all gladly and gratefully for years, man, and still until it started wearing on me, you know, and I'm seeing double and falling off the stage, at the end of the night. And then I had to be like, okay, I need to control this a bit.
Yeah.
And then, you have to be careful. But I'd say when you're starting off, just go with the flow, If everyone's getting drunk, get drunk with them, At the beginning, just go with the flow, enjoy it, drink, get into the party mood with the audience.
Cool.
And think about your liver in a few years.
Which you will be thinking about.
Which I'm thinking about now, yeah. That's why I try not to drink so much these days.
Speaking of these days, what are you doing with yourself?
Well, at the moment, because of this whole COVID thing, I've been out of work, for nearly a year. I was in Berlin for, when was it? September, October, and they'd opened things up a bit and we were doing gigs, but then everything closed down again in November. So since November, I haven't had one gig. It's been a long hiatus.
I think it's been tough on a lot of people. So I'm going to ask you something out of all the things that you've done and experienced, which I'm sure that you've got so many amazing stories to tell. Can you share one that just something that happened to you while you were on the road that you think people would find amusing?
I used to do a lot of busking before I started playing in the pubs, but also sometimes I'd be playing in the pub at night and I'd go busking during the day in Berlin, and so I have this. My favorite spot was on the bridge by the Berliner Dom. It's in the center of Berlin, and I was playing there in the middle of the bridge, and there was this young girl, I think she was a Romani gypsy girl. She was playing accordion at the end, and I was playing at the other end, and we'd take breaks and, just hang out, whatever, share a cigarette. And then at some point, anyway, I was playing, she came up to me and she was like, it's broken. It's not working. It's this old accordion she was using, She was a young girl. She was probably about 15, And she's like, fucking thing's not working, And she says, can you fix it? And so I tried to fix it, but there's no way to fix it, So I just gave it back to her and said, sorry, I can't, So she just took it, threw it over the bridge into the river. And we both just watched it floating down the river, laughing our heads off, And then she went off and she came back about an hour later with another one.
That worked this time.
Well, it's probably not much better, but, they've probably got stacks of them,
Funny. Where can people hear more about you?
Well, I have music on all the platforms, Got stuff on iTunes, Bandcamp, SoundCloud, Reverb Nation. My old band, the Big Geraniums, are on Spotify. I have another band, the current band, I've been playing in Goa with, called the Tantric Monkeys. We're on Spotify, and the song you're going to play later is a Tantric Monkeys song. On all the, if you look, if you just search Seanin, Seanin, on any of the platforms, you'll find me. Or my band, the Tantric Monkeys, or my old band, the Big Geraniums.
Cool. Well, I'll certainly leave all the links at the bottom of the description,
great,
so
thanks.
that anybody who wants to find out more about you, they can certainly do that. Well, listen, man, I think it's been really great to have you on the show, and really great to see you again.
It's been a pleasure.
I hope to see you in Goa. I hope to see you in Ireland.
Yeah, I hope to see you in Scandinavia.
Yes, absolutely.
Where are you living? Denmark, is it?
That's right. I'm living in Denmark right now.
Ah, right. Cool. Great. Yeah, I'd love to come up there sometime.
Great. Well, that about wraps it up for this week's podcast. And I want to thank once again Seanin for coming on the show to share your stories with us. If you liked what you heard and you want to learn more, please go to Amazon and pick up your copy of Troubadour, A Musician's Guide to Touring Europe as a Cover Artist. I'm going to take you out now with a song from Seanin's band, the Tantric Monkeys, out in Goa, and it's called Captain. Thanks again, and see you next time.
Thank you.
Yourself at sea.